Can I ask actually, Asnan, about ongoing Sharia obligations or compliance obligations that an issuer of a sukuk might or might not have? What do they need to worry about Sharia on an ongoing basis?
Whether they should worry or not, we have to ensure that, of course, the issuance of sukuk will follow proper structuring, legal documentation, and implementation. I think in a very matured market, where many people are very well versed with the Islamic structuring, especially sukuk, for example, the worry on the Sharia compliance will be very much reduced. In Malaysia, for example, a very matured market in terms of sukuk, for example, first, the issuance of sukuk will sit at the same time like conventional. Nobody talk about for you to issue sukuk, it take longer time, no issue at all. Cost of structuring, there is no issue at all because it will take the same time, the same thing. You are right, totally correct on that. And in terms of worry whether a particular structure may be ruled to be non-compliant or not, we will ensure from day one the approval that we get not only from the Sharia advisors of those who approve, but also from the regulators for that particular situation. That will ensure that the sukuk that has been raised will be accepted and will be easily distributed and traded among the investors for that particular situation. I don't see any worry so much about that.
So for a conventional bond, the ongoing obligation of an issuer is really just to pay the interest when it comes due and to pay the principal at maturity, and there's not much else they have to do besides wire the money on the right date. So would you generally agree that a sukuk issuer doesn't have to do anything more than that really either?
Depending on the structure, we cannot say one structure only.
Perfectly fair. So let's say we're talking about a sukuk al-ijara, plain vanilla.
Okay. If the sukuk of ijara, for example, where the lease is on the building, we have to ensure continuously that the building will not be used for something non-Islamic, because the source to be paid for the investor coming from the building itself, the asset itself. So every time you have to ensure that the building would not be used for something un-Islamic, because any rental from the building will be passed to the investors. So the rental shall only be used for Sharia compliant, for example. But if you do say, for example, sukukul murabaha, in which the asset has been sold, what is to be paid to the investor is the payment of the selling price. So if we behave like the normal obligation to pay the price, which is the principal plus markup and so forth and so on. So to encapsulate everything in the right situation is that it depends on the structure that we use.
Okay, thanks. Can maybe Majid, I can ask you this: can Citibank issue a sukuk?
Yes, as long as the structure, and of course, Citibank, as a bank issuing a sukuk, would be taken on with little skepticism, because Citibank's main core business is non-compliant. But I mean, in terms of non-Islamic issuers, as Alberto mentioned, Saxony-Anhalt is one case, East Cameron is another case. So yes, the sukuk can be issued by non-Islamic, but I think stretching it to Citibank, I think would cause certain complications.
Right.
Can I come to that?
Please.
Thank you very much. Whatever corporation, be it banks or whatever, Majid correctly said, that can issue sukuk, but we have to ensure that the proceeds come from that issuance shall only be used for Sharia compliant purposes. So say, for example, Citibank have their, I cannot mention real case here, some people from Middle East will then just catch me in immediately, because we have this kind of thing, a conventional bank issuing sukuk. In Middle East issuing sukuk, I was engaged in that particular sukuk. But what we do is that we have to monitor that the proceed from that issuance will solely be used for Sharia compliant purposes only. Say, for example, we make analogy, this man having, is a non-Muslim, is having a lot of business. Can he come to Muslim to borrow? Can. But what we have to ensure that the money that he get from the Muslim is going to be used for one of his business which compliant to the Sharia. The same goes here. Citibank, for example, can I just not mention any name? We say the conventional bank much better. Citibank people may be angry with that. So conventional bank, for example, they have their Islamic operation, for example. They issue sukuk. And the money that they raise from the sukuk is to be used to finance their Islamic businesses in the bank. If they can ensure, in Malaysia we have a clause saying that, hereby the covenant from the issuer is that the money is going to be used for Sharia compliant purposes only. And from time to time you do audit. If we can ensure that the money will be using only for Sharia compliant purposes, not a problem. The issue is that whether the regulatory framework can really ensure that the money will not be leaked to the conventional. That is the question here.
So I think what we're hearing is that the use of proceeds is relevant, it must be compliant, and the use of the assets that are the subject of the sukuk, sukuk al-jara, have to continue to be Sharia compliant. Could I ask what your views are on whether a particularly leveraged company, a highly leveraged company, or a company facing financial difficulty, not insolvent, but just facing financial difficulty, whether there's any impediment to them issuing a sukuk? Whoever wishes to.
You.
Me. I don't know why he asked me to answer. Basically, I think we understand that for a corporation or government to issue sukuk is not only Sharia consideration. There are a lot more consideration for you to issue sukuk. If your company is BBB, for example, and when you want to issue sukuk, your sukuk is junk sukuk, and the pricing is very high, it's beyond your capability of paying. Maybe even if you put a very high price, even nobody want to buy from you because of the financial situation that you have. Whether it can be structured or not, we have to see a lot of things. First, whether they have a proper usage of proceed. Second, whether the company has a proper structure to be raised. Say, for example, they want to issue sukuk ijara, whether they have asset or not, whether they want to issue sukuk, certain sukuk, there are requirements for sukuk, for example, to ensure that. If they have that, they may be able to raise a structure which is sukuk structure, comply to the Sharia, but whether they can sell or not is two different issues. If the rating is BBB, I ask you, some bankers, are you going to buy a company which you do due diligence, the company is a crap, and the rating is bad? Yeah, the sukuk in terms of Sharia structure, marvelous, excellent. Are you saying you are going to buy? I really doubt that you need to buy. Not because it's not compliant, but because the company in terms of the capability of paying is very, very bad.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, let's not fool ourselves. I mean, a sukuk is I would say, a Sharia-compliant bond. It's not the right definition, but I mean, is a debenture. It's these sort of things, So I mean, if you have a junk issuer or over leverage, whatever, okay, you can even think about stretching very much the boundaries of Sharia and of maqasid of Sharia, and and build up a Sharia-compliant structure. But then once again, who will buy it? And once again, it goes back to the is it pretty much a standard investment banking
commercial consideration.
Well,
yeah.
It's like if let's consider banking is banking, whether it's conventional or Islamic, and the due diligence process when you're investing or putting your money somewhere, you have to evaluate the risk and the reward. And based on those considerations, you will make that decision whether to make an investment or not. So if if somebody says, "Look, I've got a house at the edge of the cliff, but it's going cheap because the land soil is falling down," would you buy that house? You wouldn't. But another 1 mile further inland, you will, because it's more secure.
Thank you. With that particular analogy, I think we'll take a break for lunch and reconvene in exactly 1 hour here to resume the afternoon session. So it's now 12:45. We'll reconvene at 1:45, and thank you very much to our distinguished panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.